That's been good. I mean, obviously, it's never a bad thing to get some rest, but when it's this long, it's easy to get out of it. So, trying to find a way to push ourselves in practice and in the gym, and all those important things we need to do, recover. So, yeah, it's been fun, different.
And as far as the preparation goes, looking ahead for this one, obviously you haven't seen this team in a while, but no secret, both teams know what the big keys are going to be. Just as far as breaking down this one, preparing for the series, what have been the big points of emphasis for you guys so far?
Yeah, we're both going to be watching video, right? So they're going to know exactly what we got going on, and we're going to know exactly what they got going on. They're dynamic. Their skill is incredible, obviously. So it's going to be an interesting series. I don't expect anything to be easy out there. There's going to be no easy ice, and they do a really good job in their D zone. So it's going to be an interesting series.
How would you say it feels different this time around compared to 1 year ago at this time?
Been getting that question a lot, and it's just obviously our team's just in a bit of a different situation, right? So different in that sense. We're a stronger team, we feel like, than last year, and with that experience under our belt, hopefully it bodes well.
What are your changes from last year to now? You have Lousty in the final. You've known him for a couple years. What do you mean to this team? He seems just a good Swiss Army knife for you guys. Does so many things.
He is, for sure. He can take draws. He can play the wing, play center. He can kill penalties extremely well. He's willing to block shots. He can play heavy, actually. He's a bit of a beanpole in a sense, but you see how he drives his shoulder through guys, and he's got great body awareness and body control for a tall, lanky guy. So, nothing but good things to say about him.
How your guys' draft class, top 4 guys are all competing in this final 3 of them on your guys' team. Just when you look back at that class, just was it like seeing a decade now where all of you guys basically found your way?
It's cool. It is. At the end of the day, the draft matters for one night, right? So you see guys in the 7th round that are playing in the NHL and having fantastic careers. So that's a bit of a lesson, right? It's doesn't matter where you get drafted. You could all end up on the same team.
How do you recognize yourself in this photo?
Yeah, I feel like not many people might, but yeah.
How do you slow down Connor McDavid?
You don't. He's a dynamic player, dynamic speed. I've had the joy and pleasure of watching him most of my entire life. Us being the same, well, he's a year younger, but always played up. So yeah, it's gonna be fun trying to manage that challenge.
I think that's obviously very important to the team. He didn't fill up the stat sheet during the conference finals. So what does he do that maybe doesn't show up on the stat sheet that is so important for you guys?
Forechecking, controlling the puck, poised plays. He'll block a shot. He'll dive to get a puck out of the zone. The intangibles in the room. He's a voice, and he's a strong voice, and he's an experienced voice, and he's been through a lot in a short career so far, and he's done a lot of great things, and he's scored some clutch goals, and we believe in him as a leader, and he's a great player.
Your PK has faced some good power plays already. What makes maybe Edmonton's unique that it's had so much success?
They move around all over the ice. You can find McDavid kind of in any spot. I think one of the only guys that kind of stays in the same spot would be probably Bouchard up top with that heavy shot. So with that kind of movement, it's really dynamic and really hard to find passing lanes, especially when things are kind of happening but behind you, right? If you're kind of focusing on the puck. So going to be a lot of video to watch and try and find a way and see where their tendencies are, doing something over and over again that we can find.
You're one of the few who've been around for the real lean years here. What's it like for you to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals? And you didn't think you'd ever get here?
Yeah, it's funny. Early on, right, you never think it's even possible. But once you get here once, you realize that it's a full team group effort. You need every single player playing at the absolute top of their game. You need bounces, you need luck. And you need to play a certain style of game that we've learned to play that we definitely didn't in the first 6 years of my career here.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks,
Thank you.
It's been very good. What's maybe some keys you have to look for with them that they've been so successful with?
Yeah, I think both teams been pretty good in special teams, and that's the thing. We have to be disciplined. We can't give them too much time in the power play. For our end, we got to look some video and to how we can exploit them.
Last year you had to watch Sam in the final distance because of the injury. Just how good does it feel to be able to play into this year?
Yeah, pretty fortunate to get back these positions back-to-back years, and like you said last year, I wouldn't be able to play, and I'm really excited for the challenge and ready to go.
How tough was that last year to not be able to play after being such a big part of getting?
Yeah, it stinks. It's not fun to watch from the side, and when you think you could play, but yeah, happy to be here now.
Obviously, Matthew Tkachuk's a big, very important player for you guys. Didn't have like some goals or assists during the conference finals. So what does he do that doesn't show up on the stat sheet that's so important for you guys?
Who, Chucky?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's big part of the role in the locker room. He talks a lot, pumps up the other guys' tires, and obviously he still, I don't know what you consider a lot of points, but he's still made up good stats.
What are some of the things he says in the locker room? Is it just like encouragement? Like what do you like to say?
Yeah, I mean just talks through the game a little bit and what it thinks we have to do and to be great at.
Thanks, Lucy.
Thank you.
Value is to this team.
Right. Well, we learned that last year because it was the big question mark going into the final because we lost him in the last game. So we didn't know what we would look like. What's the impact of that guy coming out? And it was huge. Changed the way that line looked. There were times in the 2 series prior that we would get up a goal in the game, and the other team would match their best against the Lundell line, which was Loustarinen and Reinhardt at the time. That turned out to be a really good thing for us, to the point I'd throw them out for defensive zone draws because they had 2 lefty centermen and a righty centerman that could all take faceoffs, and they'd send out their big boys, and it was a pretty good match for us. So we learned then how important he was. We just could not replace him, and he grows like all players. He's a better player this year, stronger, understands the game that we play at a very high level. He can go up and down the wing, and we can always move him back into the middle if we have to. But he's a really important part of a heck of a line.
And sort of along those lines, how much did you know about him coming in? And
Yeah, not much.
You envisioned him
Not
being
much. Like the video was 4th line center that I'd seen from playoffs the year prior before I came in. And then he is one of those guys at training camp. You look at what you've got, well, he can't play on the 4th line. He has to be in our top 9. And Lundell was still a young man at center, but our center ice was set, so it had to be the wing. He can play center ice for sure, but he just was an obvious top 9 guy in training camp last year, and that's why he got the job.
Paul, when you guys clinched on Saturday, you knew you had this 1 week of ramp up.
Mm-hmm.
How did you map up? Slow ramp up? We're going to go hard these days, soft these days. How did you sort of map out?
Well, we reached back to what we had done because it becomes routine in each of the 3 series prior. There's a pure day off where they don't have to come to the rink the next day, and then we do a rehab, recovery, off-ice workout, and that's really where we're taking stock of where we're at injury-wise. But it's both. It's an off-ice workout and it's a recovery day. And then so with 4 days left, I don't think anybody skates for 4 straight days. The question was, would you go 2 on the front end or 2 on the back end? And we didn't like the idea of 2 days off, one practice, another day off, being off 3 of 4 days we didn't like. And they do like to get into kind of that rhythm of every second day if they can. So we wanted the back 3 days to be on, off, on, and then away we go. So it was just a reach back to what we had done and stay fairly close to our routine.
Well, we kind of touched on this after the game on Saturday, but what do you think are some of the bigger differences between this year's team and the team a year ago at this point, mentally, on the ice, just in general?
The team itself and its health are the 2 biggest ones. Is that we had added the defenseman in the summer and added Stenlund and some penalty killers in the summer, and then you can do whatever the heck you want in the summer. If you're not healthy by the time, that's not your team. So we've come to the last round healthy, and that would be the biggest difference. Just in terms of every team has its own personalities. This one, some of that personality is formed last year. And then, as I said, I think right from training camp, they're a pretty focused group. They were really dialed into doing the work every day.
I know when the games start, you won't be probably looking at stuff, but can you appreciate this? I mean, it took you 21 years to get back to your second Stanley. You know what I mean? I mean, there's been some long summers, right? I mean, for all of us.
Every day. But my appreciation for these players in this situation that they put all of us in. I appreciate that in November as well too. These guys work hard, so I feel it does feel different. But I don't know that it's just because I was the third one, whatever it is. It feels different because of the players, right? It's really kind of important, kind of what happens this week. But at this time of year, like, we're a small piece now. The coaches are a small piece. You're not changing any major systems. The adjustments that you make aren't really adjustments. They're just back to form, right? We're off in a game, part of our game. We want to get back to our form. So I think I said to Sergey today on this, I spend more time just cheering out there now. You know, something good, bang the stick on the boards and check to see if I need a new one by the end of practice, stuff like that.
But are you getting any calls or texts from your friends at
Yeah.
the cottage?
Well, I will just give you kind of a measuring stick of kind of how good a guy I am. I think I got about 16 texts after we beat New York, and Jamie Compound got 125. That's a fact. Also, anybody that knows me says don't text him. He never reads them, or he doesn't answer them, or I am not at all tied to my phone. Somewhat proud of that.
Did you answer him?
I did, but not for a couple of days. I don't want him. I don't want him getting excited about that. I say, hey, like if the text is a statement, does it need to be answered? It's not a question. It's just a statement. Well, thank you for your statement. I'll use nicer words than that, but. When I started, you know what? I had young kids. So it's unusual for me that when I started coaching, actually I didn't have kids, and then I had very young kids. So the deal was from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock at night, I would never do any media or phone calls or anything. That was kind of, you get home from the rink and games start at 7, but that block of time would be a time that I would. So I got in the habit of, I'll walk in and throw my phone in a drawer. The vast majority of the time, I forget it, and I pick it up on the way out before I leave the next day. So I'm not a connector.
When you look at their power play, you play some good power plays already. What makes it just maybe a little bit better than everybody else, or different?
So every power play has a structure to it, and you have a plan for that structure. And when I say the word freelance, it's not disrespectful, it's not chaos. It's their ability to create off broken plays, off very small lanes that you leave open. It's not just the two great players they have, but boy, do they create an awful lot for everyone else. They've got a very strong net front presence. They got a heater on the blue line, very creative players in the other three. So the structure, for the most part, you like to think you can handle. So a better word than freelance is the creativity off structure that makes them so difficult.
They move around a lot, but somehow Drysdale still ends up a lot in that bottom of the right.
Yeah, there's going to be a percentage of the game you have a pretty good idea where he's going and where he's going to be. He's not always there, but if you score that many points, why wouldn't you? It'd be a pretty good area to hang out.
And their penalty kill, about 28 straight kills for them.
Yeah.
What do they do on the kill that maybe is different, or is it just caught fire right now?
Well, there is something different, a little bit of an older school pressure by their forwards, kind of a top-down pressure that you don't see as much. Everybody's almost gone to more of a patient diamond. I think you saw that really come in. And these are all systems that have been used before. It's just you tailor them. But Colorado did an incredible job pushing Kucherov up instead of pushing down. So there's an awful lot of top-down. And then I think Kucherov changed that because we pushed him down. It was Stamkos and Point. They almost invited that. Colorado pushed up. What do you see the next year? Start of training camps is regular season. Everybody's pushing them up. And they, on their kill, they still push down because it works really well for what they do. You know what? Special teams really is. I've got a bunch of really good special team coaches in there. It's kind of, well, it's not quite as far off of goaltending. I do have opinions on special teams, but without a goaltending, it seems to me in our journey this year, that comment, their power play and their penalty kill has been true every series that we've gone into. Certainly, When we went into the Tampa series, their power play was on fire, and and it's a big part of. I think you asked what's different. Our discipline in the playoffs this year has been outstanding. Then, to be honest, it wasn't last year, right? But that was all part of kind of how we got there. It was very few scrums, lots of heavy hitting, but very few scrums. Real strong discipline, and we wouldn't have gotten here this year if we hadn't been, because Tampa would have just blown the doors off you if you'd spent all the night in the box. And the Rangers were cooking. We got it, and then I think Boston had gone on an incredible run. Swayman had a 9.55 at some point there in that series, so it's the way it should be. You're probably not getting here without really strong special teams.
The Rangers or Laviolette talked about your system and how they couldn't get to their offense going against your defensive system. And I'm just curious, is this a system you've had throughout your career? Obviously, things tinkered and changed and the personnel, but is this,
no, you change them. You change them a fair amount. Over the teams are different. When you get to a new team, you get to a different team, and you play with some things. You're influenced by what's kind of new in the league, what works for some teams. So I'll give you an example of maybe, you've got, we do chase what works. Vegas's D-zone coverage was different, in my opinion, than almost all of the other, some people call it zone, switch off D-zone. And you saw a whole bunch of teams run it this year. It may have cost some people their jobs because it's nuanced. You have to. So you do hang on to systems. Once you get it down, you think you got it right. But if it doesn't fit your team, it doesn't fit your team. There's nothing you can do about that. You just can't go to a different system. I'm trying to relate it to this series for you. The foundations of the team. So they've got, I believe, 4 players with more points than Matthew Tkachuk, and we're a pretty good defensive team. Those are the 2 foundations. We are. But 5-on-5, depending on what analytics you use, what companies you read, they're a better defensive team 5-on-5 than we are, and we're a better offensive team 5-on-5 than they are. I'm talking about small numbers here. I'm not talking about, but I would agree with anybody that say they are a dominant offensive team. They got 4 guys with more points than Chucky, and he's our leading scorer. So that's true. We've been pretty darn good. We've had stretches we haven't given up a whole lot. That's the foundations. But I think this is it's going to be a really interesting, incredibly even series because there aren't holes. I don't see a hole in their game. Their defensive game's good. We don't need to talk about their offensive, anymore. It's brilliant. It's going to be awesome. Okay, see you guys.
Is it appropriate?